We crack open the cold one with the crew. Rod J bringing brews, AP got the scoop. Midwest vibes, pouring pints, yeah we grinding. Sales of fops and morts, keep your minds rewinding. Across the state, spread the word, that's how we do. From the craft to the cans, always something new. Raise your glasses, cheers to the cherry sauce. And every sip, till the stories evolve.
Hear news blowing up, hear the chatter.
Midwest Beer Show, race in the cloud. Born on the mic with the passion and blast. Dave got the knowledge for an history fast.
What is up, everybody? Rod J back in the house, and tonight going to probably be more of an abbreviated Midwest beer show. It is myself. Dave is actually a little bit under the weather, so debated moving it out to a different night or a different date, but decided to go ahead and stick with what we actually have here. And then this is going to be the new night that we'll be doing the Midwest Beer Show. Had to do a little bit of a reshuffling of what would be best. I know it's kind of tough on a Saturday night, so if you're catching us on the replay or on the podcast, appreciate you catching us on the follow-up if you couldn't be here live. But if you could be here live and you are here live, then that is awesome and great to have you. We got Mercy in the house. Cheers, Adam. Great to see you, my friend. And I got a few stories to talk about since the last Midwest Beer Show. It was basically a month ago. It was October 3rd. So we've definitely had a few things taking place, a few things happening, and great to be back on here. I mentioned abbreviated because we do have Game 7 of the World Series on, so I probably want to catch part of that tonight, and some great football action as well. So tough on a Saturday night, I know, but again, appreciate you all kind of hanging in. I'm going to actually crack open a beer here as well, trying to debate which one I actually want to enjoy. There's one I've been looking for a while. Finally got my hands on it. The other one I was looking forward to, which I've already had that once, and it's really nice. And if you get a chance, definitely pick that back up. And that is the Lagunitas Sugar, as you can see here, that they brought back the original recipe. This one comes in at the 9.9% ABV, but the one I had really been looking for a bit of time was released by Boulevard Brewing out of Missouri, and it is their rum-barreled, barrel-aged pecan or pecan, depending where you're from, Imperial Brown Ale. And here in the States, it seems the people up north like to say pecan and people in the South like to say pecan. I'm not going to split those hairs. I guess proper English is pecan, but you go with what you like. This one comes in at 13.5% ABV, and this one is actually best by September 10th of 2028. So a lot of time left on this one, but I'm going to start with this because it is the Midwest Beer Show, and Missouri is a Midwest beer state. So I'm going to get this poured into the glass here before we start getting into some of the news items. As always, if you are enjoying a drink out there as well, let us know by dropping a comment there in the comment section so I can see what you're actually enjoying. Get my glass here. And also shout out to Mickey and her group. For the beer, I'm going to be using the Black and Brew Chicago. They're doing some good things up there with the nonprofit and getting more people involved in beer that might not be usually involved or seen to be a part of it, so to speak. Oh, it smells so good, folks. Smells so good. And put that bottle. Well, I'll put the bottle up here. I get the little spinner rolling. If you can see it back here behind me, there you go. And a look at the beer itself. It's a brown ale, so it is definitely dark, but you might be able to see some of the bubble action right there under the head as well. Head came out about a finger. Now it's about a half finger, so it is working its way down. But at 13.5% ABV, don't expect it to hang around as long sometimes. 8% double IPA with Nelson Sauvin, T90, and Amplifiers, Citra, BBC, and Lupa Max, and Galaxy T90. That's got a lot of stuff going on there. Called Even Even Tim, the human shark, needs water. Short Shot Brewery in collaboration with Verdant. Nice. Always hear good things about Verdant and the beers they're actually putting out. Maybe one day I'll be able to check them out as well. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the news, and I'll share some of the stuff happening from where I'm actually here in Cincinnati, and get this pulled up. One of the things that is taking place, and I'm going to actually, for those of you that may not remember, we're looking at some stuff here from Goose Island, and obviously we're just under 4 weeks out from the release of the Bourbon County beer. So I'm going to have a video coming up probably later this week. I'm going to do it, just a recap of what you can look to expect from the Bourbon County lineup in case you forgot or didn't get the chance to see it earlier. But Dave had actually put a few things in here to let me know some of the beer news that have been happening since we had not been on. And one of those is actually from Goose Island, and it's pretty interesting. And I hit the right button here. And so they're actually bringing back their King Henry after 13 years. So shout out to my Beer Buzz News where Dave was able to locate the story. But this beer is one, I guess, that had a pretty popular following. Original version back in 2011, 13.5% ABV, decadent English style barley wine, and a true masterpiece for beer enthusiasts, as noted here in the story. Have not had that from Goose Island, so kind of looking forward to maybe picking that up. It'll actually be released on Black Friday, the same day as the Bourbon County series, so you may see this out as well. Makes note on here, if you're in Chicago where you can get the prop Bourbon County Stout, they do have some ticket holders up there, VIP, and they'll have the first opportunity to get it before public release as well. So they're helping out their peeps in Chicago, which, you know, they're out of Chicago, so I get that for sure. I wish they would let the prop go to other areas and not just be Chicago, but who knows? I do know a guy, maybe at some point I will actually pick it up. But this one is actually being brought back, aged in 23-year-old Pappy Van Winkle barrels. And those had previously housed a 2010 Bourbon County Rare Stout, as noted here. So get some old Pappy. People do love Pappy Van Winkle, that's for sure. I know some people that think it's overrated, but for the most part, people love coming across some Pappy. And it'll be interesting to see how this one actually does on its return. Don't see anything here for the price point as I'm scrolling down through here, but I'm sure it's going to be, if it's like the Reserve and some of the other Goose Island Bourbon County Stouts on the upper echelon, you're probably looking 40 to 50 for a bottle of it, I would think. So keep an eye out for that. Will it be worth it? I guess you got to make the call on that. But I've got a few of their upper echelon type stuff I still need to drink from their Bourbon County series. I wouldn't put it past giving this one maybe a go there as well. But keep an eye out for that as that gets released. If you're interested in some more Goose Island, I know some people swore off Goose Island because they are under AB InBev now. So, but they seem to leave them alone when they're doing their Bourbon County Stout. AB InBev does not usually mess with them. And I'm thinking with the King Henry, we're probably looking at it about the same. Go ahead and get a taste of this beer and see what this beer feels like. Oh, that is that is really, really, really smooth. That bourbon and that pecan almost has like a praline type feel to it. Touch of sweetness, toffee underlying in the body. This is definitely a nice sipper to actually have If I wasn't inside, although I haven't set one up yet, I am going to set up a fire pit at some point. This would be a nice one to have outside, definitely around the fire pit. We're here. Well, it's about 47 degrees right now. So we are starting to get the chill effects the first day of November. Oh, which reminds me, make sure you guys turn your clocks back because you do get that hour back tonight. So some of you are out drinking, get that extra drinking hour in. They turn it back at 2 when it becomes 1 again. Oh, that is really good. That's definitely got a nice feel overall on the body. You can definitely feel the weight of it, but very well balanced. Very much a presence about the beer. Comes through very nice. Taking a look at some of the other beer news that we've kind of come across here. It is that time of year. We always talk about as you get into September to October to November, everything's coming out on top of each other. Oktoberfest, pumpkin, Christmas, and all that kind of stuff. But there was one report talking about how Oktoberfest and pumpkin beer sales have heated up this year. It seems like things have been rolling pretty well for them. I think the thing you run into with pumpkin is, though, it's almost like you have to get it out there before people get, in my opinion, burnt out on it. Now, I know some people that do love their pumpkin beers, but I think there's definitely an overwhelming number that like to do a couple here or there, and they're pretty much done. Oktoberfest, I think there's more people that like to do that style, and those are always nice to enjoy. In fact, I just did a upload on one of the Oktoberfest beers here on the channel, and I'll have a few more coming up here as well over the next few days when I get those loaded in. But Oktoberfest beers, pumpkin beers, as we talk about some of the sales and stuff kind of falling off across for some of the breweries, seems like they are having some success this year and up on the rise a little bit more. In the story here, from what Dave had pulled, some of the ones like what Weistenfeiner Festbier, Paulaner, and Hofbräu. We also had Oktoberfest, including Breckenridge, Left Hand, and Odell. All seem to actually be doing pretty good and been strong sellers for some of the people out there. Southern Tier Pumpkin, which I will be having a review of the Caramel Pumpkin and the Maple Warlock. So I do have those. I haven't got into my full pumpkin tasting yet. I'm one of those people. I'll do a few pumpkin. I did have a great one this year from Mad Tree Brewing, their PSL, which was a coffee blonde pumpkin ale, which was really good that they did. I was really blown back by it because I'm not usually a blonde ale person. And like I said, pumpkin, I'm in there for a bit, but I do love coffee, and they did an excellent job putting that one together. But I'll have those other two, at least those two that I'll be sharing here on the channel upcoming as well. But, as you're seeing stuff out there, people seem to still be enjoying and going through the pumpkin, some of the Oktoberfest. But we've already had Christmas beers hitting the aisles now, too. So, in fact, we went out to dinner last night, and I had my first Christmas beer of the year, which was a fantastic Christmas beer. It was from Thirsty Dog out of Northern Ohio, and it was our 12 Dogs of Christmas. And it was on tap, 8.2% ABV, very nice winter ale. And it was the first pull from the tap that they put a new tap on. It was delectable. So if you haven't had Thirsty Dog out of Ohio and you haven't had their 12 Dogs of Christmas and you're a Christmas beer fan, definitely recommend giving that one a go. Well worth a try. And if you're, like I said, a winter ale fan, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. As this starts to warm more in the glass, that flavor's starting to pop really nice. Yeah, that sweetness is coming out a little bit more. That toffee, slightly caramel in their feel is coming out. Oh my gosh. Boulevard does some great stuff out of Missouri. I got to give it to them. They put some good beers together. Great brewery to actually check out if you get a chance as well. We also had an interesting one here that Dave was able to locate. And I mentioned Dave, if you haven't seen Dave or know Dave, it's beerinfront.com. You want to check him out over in Beer in Front. I have his link there in the description as well. Does some great stuff out of Chicago, has some great people that actually come on his channel for the podcasts that he does and also the YouTube stuff. So make sure to tune in and see the stuff that he's putting out. But Sun King out of Indiana, which has a nice brewery, was able to visit them when I was in Indianapolis last year for the CBC. Actually, I don't say last year, earlier this year. It just feels like it's last year now. Great location and some good beers they were actually doing. They have come out with a mystery box, which is always interesting. It's a mixed case, and you don't know what's inside of it. You have to actually purchase it, and you get surprised by the beers they actually put into it. The thing is with it as well, each case is different. So you don't know what is actually in it, and you don't know if you get the same case as a friend may get. Makes it kind of fun. It makes it kind of intriguing. And the 24 12-ounce cans, you're doing it for $16.99, which is a crazy price point to see in the craft beer world right now. A case of 24 craft beers, $16.99. Now, obviously, if you get something in there, it's a light type beer, whatever, you might be like, I don't want a light beer, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But they are all crafted beers. And I can tell you from knowing Sun King, they do some great stuff. It might be worth a try if you happen to see that, just to see what kind of surprise you get. Think of it as an Advent type thing, because a lot of people will be doing Advent beers here for December, but this might be something you want to pick up and give a try to if you happen to see it. They only have 10 mystery cases per tap room, they said, so they're not doing a ton of them. So I guess you do have to go to the tap room and actually pick those up in Indianapolis or Carmel, Fishers, or Mishawaka. But it's an interesting concept. It'd be kind of fun. It would be funny to see if other breweries kind of did some stuff like this too. I remember back, I want to say it was around 2014, 2013, somewhere back then, where you could pick up some mystery craft 12 packs, and it would be done with like various breweries. So you didn't know what actually would be in it. Now, they used to have it where it was all bottles, so you had to get the handles on the side, but you could kind of peek in through the handle slots to kind of see at least one or two what the beers are in there. But always kind of a fun way to introduce some craft beers that you may not have had, and might be something worth doing. So yeah, Sun King is actually doing something like that at this point. Sam Adams, and I'm pretty stoked to see how this actually goes here, because I am in Cincinnati, where I have the Sam Adams Tap House. They actually are in their celebration of Utopias. So Utopia, big anniversary, 30% ABV for the first time. They've hit that level. So they will actually be bringing out special releases of this. Now, I will say, if you are in Cincinnati, the tap room itself, and I'll get into that here in a second a little bit more, they're going to have a special celebration where they will actually have Utopias on tap that you can sample different things and try some barrel-aged beers they've done with Utopia as well. But 30% ABV. Is there a point where you say, okay, that's not really a beer anymore? Because a lot of people will talk about a Utopia and they'll think, isn't that more kind of like a whiskey at a certain point, or at least a cordial, right? 30% ABV, but it's all done through the same way you would make a beer. So it's not wrong calling it a beer, but if you like the description of it, it has the 2-row pale malt blend Munich Caramel 60. These strains are several strains of brewer's yeast, which is their proprietary ninja yeast, and a special yeast generally reserved for champagne. So I feel like it's going to give you that little fizzy type feel. I'm not always excited about that in some of this stuff. That was like the yeast they would use, like the brute IPAs when they were doing those for a bit. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's like, I wish they wouldn't have done that. But anyway, color SRM 34 is a little bit darker. And then the 30% ABV. Held for years. Brewed collaboratively across Sam Adams. Nothing really too much jumping out from that part. But, Utopia. Now, Utopias will cost you. They're not cheap for Utopias usually. I think the lowest I've ever seen was one at a store years back, and it was, how much was that one? It was like 200, I think, 210 or something. But I've seen them sell a lot higher, like the secondary type markets as well. Now, it cannot be shipped or sold in 15 states. So it's not even here in the U.S., you can't get it everywhere. But Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Missouri, Mississippi, Montana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Oregon, South Carolina, Utah, Vermont, and West Virginia can't get it to you. You can't get it, which is funny to see West Virginia on there, because I remember when I went to school at WVU, we used to always drink Everclear and Grain, like for parties. And then when I moved to Ohio, I found out Ohio, you couldn't buy Everclear because they said it was too strong of alcohol. So it's kind of interesting to think West Virginia won't allow this high ABV beer, but you can get Everclear. And I think you still can't get Everclear in Ohio. I don't know. Make it make sense, but that's what it kind of looks like there. So if you are a Utopias fan or you've been thinking about trying Utopias, just know they are on the way here. And in fact, let me pull up this other one I have here as well, because for those of you, now if you follow my Facebook page, I've shared it out there as well, but they are actually going to be having a celebration of the Utopias on November 14th through the 16th here in Cincinnati, where they'll be actually allowing you to get rare opportunities to try the different ones. They have a few different things they're doing with Utopia, so you'll be able to experience it. And they're saying in 2025 paying homage to their beloved cream stout, which they're aged in the Utopia barrels. Imperial cream stout, Utopias, smooth and roasty with rich notes of oak and vanilla, perfect for toasting another year with the taproom friends. So, yeah, that's going to be all upcoming here, and I'm pretty psyched. I don't know if you saw on my Facebook and in a few of the other social media, I recently had their barrel-aged cinnamon roll Bach maple barrel-aged cinnamon. Oh, my God. It was freaking heaven in a glass. It was so freaking good. I mean, it just – it's like, yeah. So I had it like the Friday before the release, and I know people have been trying it since then. And as far as I know, that's only at the Cincinnati Tap House. I don't know if they're going to have it up in Boston or not, but just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. So this is why you want to go to some breweries, because if you don't go to breweries, you miss out on things that they don't put in retail operations. And Sam Adams has some good stuff that's actually happening. So other things to look at here, Rheingeist located here in Cincinnati. And thanks again to Dave on this one, because I'm in Cincinnati and I didn't get a chance to even take a look at this yet. But they're getting into the THC market with their fuzzy bones. And it says on here, as Ohio lawmakers set up regulatory framework. So in Ohio, we had THC drinks, and the governor tried to basically shut it down and put a 90-day executive order out there. And we've had a judge overturn it and allows THC drinks to now be sold until an agreement is done with the governor and then the state Congress, all that kind of stuff. They have to go through the whole process. But it's funny because when they announced he was going to be doing that, one of our stores, they actually opened up like 45 minutes before the press conference so they could actually let people know and sell out what they had in the store before taking it off the shelves. And then once the stay happened, they loaded up the shelves again, and now we have people stockpiling some of the THC drinks in case it comes back again. But shout out to Ryan guys for making that move into the market. And I think this is something you have to see with some of the craft breweries that are out there. There has to be more of a encompassing and taking advantage of the things that are available to meet the consumers where they are. We have a lot of consumers that like to have THC beverages, and this is a way to get in front of them and offer up some other opportunities. One of the other breweries I know here, Urban Artifact, had done some stuff with THC, but it teamed up with another company under the other company's name. This is interesting because you still have the Rheingeist logo on it. And if you're having a THC and a brewery, I got to think that brings up some different things you have to follow to meet the TTB guidelines, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on and see how that all goes. But if you're a Rheingeist fan, we all know about the great beers they do. You might want to check out some of the THC beverages they're also putting out as well. Get another sip of this drink tonight. It's funny, last night, right, because it's November 1st, so last night was Halloween. Our first Halloween at the new house that we're actually at. We were told when we moved in that usually there wouldn't be any kids through the area, but you never know. So we went ahead and bought candy anyway. No kids showed up. So now I got like bags of Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, Twix, and some Skittles, because I got candy that I actually like as well, because if no kids show up, I got to be able to eat the candy, or the wife has to eat the candy. So it's like I didn't get any of that like Crackle or Mounds or some of those other ones that I would never want to eat there. So I might try to start pairing some candy with beer. That might be a nice experiment to do now that I think about it. But anyway, getting back into some of the news over here. Warped Wing out of Dayton, Ohio. Great little brewery as well. Been talking with them recently, and they actually had let me know some updates they had taken place. And if you go to the blog, the website, this is one of the reasons why I say if you go to the website, you'll see some things I'm sharing there that might not be necessarily on YouTube, but they're in the process of launching their Esther's little secret collaboration once again this year, which is done with Esther Price candies. So if you know Esther Price, you know like the little chocolates they put in the little, I think it's like a gold box or whatever with different flavors. And, you know, a lot of us as guys do it like we pick them up at the store for like Valentine's or whatever, holiday, birthday, anniversary, when it was, you know, type of fancy candy. And so they're teaming up with them. And I'm kind of looking forward to see what it actually may be. Now, they haven't released it yet. What it's going to be for what beer is, like I said, it's a little secret. But as you can see there, 2025 down here where it says it's a secret, they're kind of going to wait for the surprise for when it comes out, which will actually be coming out on November 6th, I believe. Yes. And they'll be having it coming out of the Dayton tap room. And then they'll be hitting the other tap rooms as well, which I didn't realize. They actually have a tap room here in the Cincinnati area, not too far from me in it. So I can actually get over there and try to pick some of this up. But I'm intrigued looking at their past flavors. They started this back 2014. They had a caramel Scotch ale. That was done on draft only at the time. They had a milk chocolate brown ale. They also had a chocolate peanut butter brittle porter. Winter white ale with chocolate and vanilla cream, chocolate cherry cordial stout, chocolate caramel sea salt Scotch ale. I'd have been all over that one for sure. Double fudge cream stout, chocolate almond dark brown ale, caramel pecan Scotch ale with Boston Stoker Highlander Greg coffee, so a special coffee blend, I'm sure, coconut cream milk stout, and the sweetheart peppermint porter. So some pretty intriguing flavors they've come up with in the past. So looking forward to see what they do this year. But Warp Wing, that'll take place again November 6th, so later this week. And if you're in this area or you know people in the area, make sure you want to try to check that out. If I do get my hands on that, then I will get that on the channel to do a review as well. But some good stuff happening there. Up in Michigan, we also have some good things taking place. If you are up in the Michigan area, pull that up here. Northern Michigan will be, in fact, about to do their Northern Michigan prepares for Traverse City Beer Week. So they'll be kicking that off this week with various things happening around the different breweries. They got 24 breweries and tap rooms across Northern Michigan to feature hundreds of craft beverages. Lots of good stuff happening. They got a Pilsner party. They got a Lager Love, Blonde Moments, Brown Sugar, Red Zone, all these different things taking place up in Northern Michigan. So again, Midwest, so many beer things that are taking place and happening. Here's something up there for those of you in the Michigan area, running November 7th through the 15th. Get out there and pick up some of those beers or go out and enjoy some of those beers. A lot of good stuff taking place. You know what else is good taking place? The beer in this glass. This beer in this glass taking place is very, very good. Yeah, I can possibly say I'm starting to feel a little bit of that booziness kicking in, but very solid. Outside of Michigan, actually, let's stay in Michigan because I forgot about this one that's actually out there as well. Pull this one up here. And I had not heard of this before. But have you went to a craft beer bar before? And I remember when years ago they were kind of popular. Actually, a great way to share some of the love of craft beer because you might not want to be a brewery, but you want to have great craft beer. Michigan Hopcat is a craft beer bar chain, and they were just acquired by a Chicago investment firm. Various locations will be now taken over. Now, it's not anything particularly bad or anything like that happening to the craft beer bar, although they are now able to get an infusion of more capital to allow them to actually do more. So they have 12 locations across Michigan, and they have one in Nebraska, which is interesting, Michigan, Nebraska. But anyway, they put one down there in Nebraska. And it's kind of, like I said, one of those places you can go and they feature or focus on craft beer bar. So, I don't know if they have any of the macros on tap, but obviously the majority of the stuff is going to be craft, which is great to see because a lot of bars, they're always going to have those macro taps, which are taking up real estate for some of the craft beers. But they have locations in Grand Rapids, Detroit, Royal Oak, Downriver, and Ann Arbor, and others. And I will say, I will be looking to go to a beer tuber get together next year that is actually taking place in Michigan. So if I get up there and it's going to be in Grand Rapids, I believe, we'll definitely try to swing by and check this place out and share some of the details on what they might be doing there. But if you guys have a craft beer bar or you like going to craft beer bars, let me know in the comments as well. I don't see them as much now, but I think it's still a good idea for those that want to share that craft beer story, but not necessarily run a brewery. It's a great idea to have a craft beer bar. Shout out to Langdon in the house. Cheers. Oh, okay. You went to Hopcat. So there you go. So Langdon went to a Hopcat and thought it was a cool experience. Yeah, if I get up to the one in Grand Rapids, I'll definitely let you guys know what I think of it along those lines. But I just think it's great because maybe you don't want to go to a brewery, you want to go to a bar. One of the things we'll get into here in a second, I'll share a story about. And for those of you that have been following the channel, the last few weeks, it's been a common theme that's come up is about children at some of the breweries, right? And you don't have that in a bar. In a bar, you just can't have children in the bar. But it's kind of funny. Like some people may go to a bar now because they want to get away and just be able to enjoy their beer, so to speak, and not have that. Let me see here. And then one of the other cool things that we saw, I mean, today was kind of a different type thing with the one thing we do on the show or the channel here that I actually do is like we mess around and we'll dabble here and there. Not really get into political type thing, but kind of just talking about the causes and stuff breweries are doing. So shout out to Iowa's Big Grove Brewery. They actually pledged $12,000 to help food banks amid the loss of the SNAP benefits. For those of you that have been like that awareness in the news, all that kind of stuff, kind of know like some of the SNAP stuff may not be going out to those people that actually need it as of today. But I know there's been some rulings since then from some of the judges saying the federal government has to provide some things, but it's nice seeing some of the breweries, you know, not that they have to get involved, but whenever you see the breweries being involved, that's what makes the whole craft beer things that community experience. And so Iowa and their Big Grove Brewery out there, they actually pledged to get involved to kind of help people out and see what they can do in the scenario that's taking place. But talking about the kids in the breweries, it's kind of funny. So we were talking before, and I'll pull it up here as well. It's kind of been a hot topic too. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why it's as hot as it actually is as hot, but the whole children in brewery, Eastgate Brewing out of Reynoldsburg, Ohio, was one that we'd actually talked about. It's now like been featured like on the New York Post and Fox News for they say their controversial policy. It's not really a controversial policy. It's pretty much they have a thing where they say they're going to not allow children in the brewery after 7 p.m. Okay, that's what they're doing. I don't think that's really controversial, but it's just so funny how this is actually coming up, and appreciate all the folks that have been watching those videos and comments, and we've been having discussions with some of the other beer tubers around that as well, and it's just kind of a crazy type thing. And the one brewery here where people were like criticizing them over it, I mean, there's arguments, I guess, to be made on both sides, but it's just so funny like how now this small brewery out of Ohio is getting positioned on the New York Post and the Fox News for what they're doing. And I've seen ones, though, from the Northeast as well that have had similar type policies and stuff. So it's something that's kind of moving across the country somewhat in some of these craft breweries, and there's reasons for it. And I think with a lot of the breweries, and we've talked about this in the past, they definitely want to make money, right? And the margins are really thin. So it's not like they want to kick families out, but there is a safety and a responsibility factor, I think, that comes into play. So sometimes that gets overlooked and stuff. And it's, you know, it's sad to see that kind of thing. I've been at breweries and children and stuff, no problem. Everything's been kind of good. And I've seen some that children all over the place. I've spoke to some of the breweries. In fact, last week I spoke to a couple of the different brewery folks, and I made this mention when I had Dave on from Scott Brewing a few nights ago, that there are some issues that can pop up sometimes. So it's at no point should like breweries be attacked for basically doing their policy, and it definitely shouldn't be called controversial just because you have this in place. So like, you know, 7 p.m., it is what it is, but some people are just going to be a little crazy. They're going to be just like, hey, these people in this article that responded or sent to the brewery called them a child hater and all kind of stuff. Like, well, not about hating children. It's all about just being responsible. So yeah, kind of an interesting type thing, but somehow they made the headlines for the New York Post and for Fox News. So I guess it was slow news day, and they were able to pop on there. And then the other big news thing that I saw, which is kind of funny. I remember being young, and I think it might have been like when you would watch like Alice on TV, the TV show Alice, for those of you that are Gen X like me, or couple of other shows. Piggly Wiggly. I always thought it was like a made up thing for TV. I didn't know there were really Piggly Wigglies until I went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And then that's the first time I ever saw a Piggly Wiggly. Well, the funny thing is now there are Piggly Wiggly beers. So, so Piggly Wiggly is actually real. It's kind of like, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. So Piggly Wiggly beer being done by Three Sheeps, German Pilsner, Midwest, IPA, Amber Lager out of Wisconsin. I just find it humorous just to know there's actually a Piggly Wiggly beer now. After thinking this was some imaginary store that Hollywood came up with for their TV shows, and then seeing one years ago for the first time, and now they actually have their own little beer line with Three Sheep. So if you come across any of these out of Wisconsin, yeah, pick it up. I would pick it up just for the curiosity factor of having a Piggly Wiggly can myself. That is just, I find humor in it for whatever reason. Like I said, for those of you that are Gen X, Piggly Wiggly was probably the most talked about like grocery store you would see on TV outside of Acme or something. But yeah, they got their own beer, so that is definitely interesting. Cheers to you, Ryan, as well, my friend. Great to see you. Hopefully you're enjoying a nice beverage as well. And then Langdon has said about the Hopcat, remember it being more of a restaurant vibe, and they happen to also have a brewery. Yeah, so, I mean, for them, they were more of a restaurant up front and then have like some of the beers and stuff there. The article mentioned them as a craft beer bar, so I'm not sure, the writer, whoever did the article, might have just kind of assumed that, but could be a restaurant and bar and have the stuff there. But it's always nice if it's a craft beer bar and if people actually know craft beer, is a great way to go and experiment and find out new craft beers. And Ryan said Piggly Wiggly in Fairfield back in. Oh, I didn't know there was one here in Fairfield too. So Ryan's actually here in Cincinnati as well, and good to know. Yeah, first time I saw it again when I was in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. One of our trips down there. Gatlinburg, Tennessee is very common for people out of like the Cincinnati, Ohio area, probably even more north, maybe up toward Columbus, to go down there and get a cabin, and especially around this time of year when they're doing the color changes with the foliage and all of that. Get a cabin, take some brews down there, take maybe some THC type stuff. And you just chill, get a hot tub, you just kick back and relax. So, yeah, but that's the first place I ever saw a Piggly Wiggly. The only other interesting news I saw coming back here with the channel this week, which is really interesting. So I put this question out on Reddit, and it kind of blew up with a lot of the stuff and responses and people that were kind of seeing some things, is about Untapped. And basically the update they did recently where they dropped the word basically beer from the app and exchanged it for drinks. So if you go in your Untapped app, for those that use Untapped, if instead of it saying like beers, it now says drinks, which is weird because everything on Untapped is a drink. But yet they have wine, they have water, they have spirits, they have RTD, they have drinks. Like, why is like beer? You started out as a beer app, so how is beer not listed as a category on there? But I kind of just did a question out there because I saw there was another one out of PA, Breweries in PA, which is a Facebook group or Facebook page, I believe, questioning basically Untapped, or they had Untapped RIP or whatever, like basically like they were done. And I had put a question on Reddit asking, is this the end of Untapped? What was taking place? And for some reason, it caught a little fire over there. People have been responding to it and kind of noticing it there. And getting various responses. I don't think it's a app killing type thing by them removing beer, but your whole initial growth was based on beer itself. And now you've taken that component kind of out of it. You can still check in your beers, and I think most people nowadays do it for themselves anyway. Occasionally we'll have some friends on there, so we're checking to see what our friends might be drinking, or kind of doing, kind of maybe some research about what might be more popular type things. But it's just funny not seeing beer listed on it. And who is checking in like Coke Zero or Diet Dr. Pepper? Like, I guess you want to have access for people that maybe don't want to drink it. You're trying to expand the platform out. So I get that as well. But I'm just like, I would never think to, I had A&W root beer earlier. I would just never think to check it in to untap. It just doesn't make any sense to me to kind of do that. So it's interesting just seeing the stuff they're doing. And they've had some other changes slightly that have taken place. Obviously, some people are like, why use Beer Advocate? Well, Untappd bought Beer Advocate, which Beer Advocate now is actually a little bit more easier to kind of go through for, like, I would say, like the general beer consumer. Before, when you first got a Beer Advocate, they almost wanted you to write a novel to be able to check a beer in. So a lot of people were kind of like, I don't want to use this app. And they can go to Untappd. It was a lot easier. Or they would go to Rate Beer. But now they made Beer Advocate a little bit easier. So maybe Beer Advocate might get a little bit more of a push from some of the people that like talked about they left Untappd because Untappd started going downhill a while ago. It was just interesting. And then they removed some of the beer badge type stuff. So not sure what the whole premise is and what they're making a change. I just feel like they made a change they didn't need to really make. I mean, you were essentially a beer app. You could have left the beer on there and just kind of brought the other stuff in, but kind of interesting. So if you guys are using Untappd, let me know what you think by when you check it out and seeing some stuff there. I think, like I said, for most people, it probably won't affect them as much because most people are doing their own thing, but just kind of interesting. It's kind of like you're stepping on your toes when you don't need to step on your toes. But that's just me. Let me see here. Check some of the comments. Oh, nice. Ryan's got a Flannel Fest Dunkel from Sam Adams. Nice, Ryan. I got to get back down to the Cincinnati tap room because I need to get a bottle of the maple. It's such a mouthful. Maple barrel aged cinnamon roll Bock. I need to get a bottle of that because when I did it when I was down there, they provided it to me on draft. It wasn't like for sale yet or whatever, and that is such a fantastic beer. They also have another one. It was a toasty something. Look at my Untappd here. See what it was. Because I still use Untappd. Even though they make these changes, I still use Untappd. I mean, it's so easy to actually do stuff yourself on there. They have a Toasty Boy. I don't know if you had that, Ryan, but that is their brown ale. It was great beer that they have out there for that one. And then the Toasted Boy, 6.5 ABV on that one. And on like my Untappd, pretty much nice, well-balanced essence of brown ale coming through nicely. Caramel toffee notes with a nice roastiness and a nutty quality in the background. So really well done. But I will tell you, this Boulevard beer, oh my gosh, it is definitely hitting. And for those of you that came in later, you may have not seen it. It is the Boulevard Rum Barrel Aged Pecan Pie Imperial Brown Boulevard out of Missouri, 13.5% ABV. It's a gem. So I'll have a review upcoming on that as well. But if you happen to see that out there, I would say give it a grab. The funny thing about that beer, and I mentioned earlier, I had been looking to try to get that for a while. The place I ended up getting a 4-pack of these ended up being 5 minutes from my house in the most unlikely spot, a BP gas station. Now, I did a video years ago talking about Ohio. Was it years ago? Why did I say years ago? Months ago, talking about Ohio and their gas stations and their craft beer selections in gas stations. So about 5 minutes from me, there's a BP, and on the front you see craft beer selection, 500 craft beers. And it's like, you got to go in. You got to find out what's going on in there, right? And they had like 2 4-packs of that left, but they had other craft beers that were craft beer bangers. I mean, Other Half and AleSmith and some other. It's just like, okay, these guys know what's going on here with some of the craft beer world. So get them on the list. And they're going to be one of my regular spots to check out. But I was just like blown away to finally get that. And it is so smooth. You get the nice feel, toffee, pecan. I love a good brown ale anyway, but just to have that smoothness and that little bit of nuttiness with it, very well balanced. A little bit of sweetness in there. Great beer. I won't say too much more about it because I do got to do a review on it, but yeah, it is very solid. Oh, let's see here. Untapped, expand their drink option in no way affects people's ability to check in their beers the same day. No, it doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't really affect anybody to be able to check in. It's just it's one of those weird type things that happens, right? So it's like you're a beer app. Why would you remove the word beer from the app, and just replace it with something like drinks? And I think some of the categories that people were saying they can't categorize the same way they were before or something, but I had not looked that far into it. But it was just funny because there were some people turning away from Untapped anyway when they started having things people could post on there that weren't beers. They were doing RTD cocktails for a while. I know they were on there, but now that you can do spirits and the wine and like the water, the soft drinks, it's just kind of funny. So it's very just interesting on how they're actually doing it. But one of the things that I didn't even realize is that some people were talking about how they're starting to hit people with so many different ads, and that's kind of driven some people away. But I mean, it's a business, so they're going to try to make dollars, just like you guys that watch the channel here. I'm sure there's ads that pop up. That's just part of what goes along with it. But it's one of those things, it's kind of like scratch the head type thing, but overall, I'm not going to change anything for most folks. The funny thing is when I put it in Reddit, like some people, and it wasn't really a lot, it was like maybe 1 or 2, like maybe 2%, if even that, thought I was like saying it as complaining against them doing it, which wasn't the case. I was just asking a question if this would be like something that has to basically knocking down Untapped, killing Untapped as an app or whatever, because there was another site that was talking about Untapped, basically the end of them by them doing this. So for me, I'm going to still use it the way that I actually use it, but it was just funny to see some of the comments that were coming back. Oh, you got a bottle of the Tasty Boy in the fridge? Or you got a bottle of the maple cinnamon roll? Yeah, Boulevard does make some high quality beers. I always enjoy checking their stuff out. They had an issue that took place a year or 2 ago. I can't remember exactly when it happened, and they were able to pretty much the employees kind of took control and got it straightened out and made a big difference. And basically asked for people to still support the brewery because they were handling things themselves. And it was like, okay, well, that's cool how you guys handle it. Founders could have took a note on that. And basically, I still enjoy Boulevard. Oh, nice. Boulevard based variety show hitting YouTube in a couple weeks. Let me know. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. They got so many good ones over there. Their barrel aged quad is another one of my favorites they actually put out as well. But anytime I have anything from Boulevard, it's always pretty solid. Okay, a bottle of the Bach. Yeah, I got to get one of those. And talking to their taproom manager, we talked when we did the Oktoberfest when we were there with Jim Cook and things. And it's funny, the day I went down there was the day he actually was off. He was off doing another thing. He's like, yeah, come down anytime. I'm usually here. And it's like, okay. So, yeah, I'll get back down there. I was able to connect with a couple of their other key people as well. And they got a lot of good things happening. Cincinnati is such a great beer city that sometimes things get taken for granted or overlooked. You think about Sam Adams, just high quality beer stuff they're actually doing. But sometimes, whereas some of the other breweries like Street Side or Rheingeist or Mad Tree or Fretboard or blah, 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 go on the list. We have like 70. And you just like forget how good they actually put the beers out that are so damn tasty. So, yeah. And it's such a great little tap room spot they got there, too, right there by Finley Market, and great exposure. And yeah, I need to go down there a few more times for sure. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, for the party for the Utopias, indeed. Yeah, I talked about that earlier here tonight for when that takes place, and do plan to actually get down at some point for that as well. Talking with, I think it was Matt there in the tap room, and then knowing Keith there as well, who's the tap room manager. So I definitely plan to get down there for that. The anniversary party is going to be legit. So yeah, want to get down there and enjoy some of their stuff, and of course show some support for them as well. They're doing great things. So again, sometimes we overlook like how great Sam Adams actually is, and that's why I always say you got to get out to the breweries at times, because it's so easy now, especially here for us in Ohio, for us to go to a store and get good craft beer, because we have so many stores that are selling the beer from the breweries, but so much beer that doesn't get out to that store. Like when I went to Mad Tree and I had the PSL is not something they're canning. You have to go there to actually enjoy that beer. So it's like there's so much stuff and so many good reasons to go to the brewery and just to kick back and enjoy as well. But yeah, those were the beer stories for tonight that we had Saul out there over the last time that we've done this, but we'll be doing this again here every other Saturday. So tonight is the 1st, so we'll be back like on the 15th to do another one, and Dave should be hopefully good to go at that point, and he'll have a lot of stuff coming out of the Chicago area. And we cover the Midwest. We talk about some of the national scale stuff when we need to as well, but we're talking about the things happening in Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Iowa. What else we got? North Dakota, South Dakota, I think maybe out there too. So yeah, we try to cover what we can, because we're not just flyover states. We have great beer here. You need to land and come check out the beer in the Midwest and sit back and enjoy. But that being said, I'm going to sign off. I want to go see who's going to end up being the World Series champion this year. It's been a great series thus far. I know Ohtani is pitching tonight for the Dodgers, which seems about right to come down to a Game 7 and having him pitching as well. And then also we got Tennessee versus Oklahoma. It's a big game. It's good sports night. Good sports night. So thanks for everybody that tuned in. If you, again, listen back on a replay or you're listening to the podcast, make sure to come by the YouTube channel to catch these live. And if you are on other social media sites, one thing I've added here, right up here, is a QR code. You can always click on that to hit me up on the link tree and the other sites that I'm actually at to connect with. A lot of good things happening. Things are varied. I don't always do everything on YouTube that I do on the blog or that I do on the Facebook page and some of the other spots. So make sure to check that out so that you can see some of the other things that I'm sharing out here in the beer world as well. And I look forward to catching up with you guys soon. Don't forget to turn your clock back. Enjoy that extra hour of a drink maybe later tonight. If it's 2, it goes back to 1. So if you're at a bar, you get an extra hour in. And I look forward to catching up with you guys on the next video, and a lot more videos coming your way this week. So make sure to tune in for that as well. That being said, cheers, and thanks to all of you that tuned in for the Midwest Beer Show. See you next time.